Hello, dear friends. Today I want to talk to you about a controversial subject between integrative docs, anti-diet dietitians, and conventional medicine. Specifically, I want to discuss the subjects of cleansing and detoxing. I also want to highlight three concerns I have about them that many people are not aware of or may even think of. So, in this video, we're going to go over the opposition and advocacy for detoxing and cleansing, the main considerations for detoxing and cleansing, supporting health through harm mitigation, three unintended and harmful consequences of cleansing and detoxification. And of course, we're going to touch and bring in an essential oil blend for self-worth and self-acceptance. And I'll explain how that all ties in. Now, some of these concepts are very broad, so I'm going to be expanding on them in future videos. But for this video, for the purpose of today, I want to give you a broad overview as well as links and resources that I'll be discussing. As always, they'll be in the resource section and within the accompanying video blog. So if you want to dive even deeper, you can do that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started around the controversy of cleansing and detoxifying. Now, there are several reasons why these topics are contentious between healthcare providers, wellness gurus, and fitness influencers. The one side of the debate are those that feel these subjects are just marketing ploys to increase supplement sales, advocating for unattainable dietary purity, and a push for aggressive and unattainable lifestyle changes. These opponents state that our body already naturally detoxifies and cleanses, so we don't need to support it. It's something that it just does anyways. Now, proponents of this process state that these techniques have actually been a component of physical and spiritual healing since ancient times. In fact, many cultures still use traditional applications of cleansing and purifying for religious ceremonies. Furthermore, there have been several studies of modern-based practices of detox diets and cleanses, providing evidence of improving health and relieving various conditions. There's been preliminary trials, there's been surveys, there's been case reports that have demonstrated clinical efficacy using protocols. The caveat is that these protocols were designed by healthcare providers. Now, there's also wellness and fitness gurus that offer protocol cookie cutter approaches, and they feel that these are applicable and safe for the general public. Now, both integrative and conventional health providers worry that these programs may not be vetted for pure pharmaceutical grade supplements that are of high quality, and they could be associated with risks without proper follow-up. So, who do we listen to? Do we go to one side that they're all bad, another side that everybody needs them, or maybe they are best advised under the guidance of an integrative health doctor? Well, the truth is often found in nuances and somewhere in between extremes. Let's go over some of the arguments both for and against detoxing and cleansing. Now, it is true that the body does have processes in place to help us deal with harmful substances. These include the detoxification and elimination pathways that take place in our liver, our gut, our lungs, our skin even, and our kidneys. And it's also accurate that there is a pretty penny that can be gained by doctors who provide detox challenges and cleanses. But on the other side, it's also true that there are certain nutrients in foods that can aid the body in detoxifying. They act by upregulating certain enzyme pathways in the body, as well as biochemical reactions. And these pathways, when they're upregulated, help assist the gut, the liver, and the lungs and the kidneys in removing toxins produced by the body, both produced from processing food that we eat and also from things that we take in from the external environment. Another point to consider is that we are living in a world with the emergence of new chemicals exploding in numbers by the day. We're now exposed to more substances than any previous generation, and we just can't escape them. They're present in our personal care products, our cleaning agents, our beauty supplies, our water, our air, and our food. No matter how careful we are, it seems to be that they leach in somewhere. And unfortunately, these substances are not effectively vetted, regulated, they're ubiquitous, they're persistent, and they can be detrimental. They've been linked to various disorders and diseases, and removal of them has actually been shown in some case studies to actually help restore health. So, even with our natural ability to rid ourselves of these harmful substances, many people still carry a body burden, which is negatively impacting their health in the body and mind. And it could potentially be mitigated if we use the proper substances and we use the proper things that can help. Okay, so how do they get mitigated? How can we help people with all of this body burden? I believe that we can aid people to support elimination and make an effort to avoid the accumulation of toxins. I've actually talked through that with you guys previously in videos where I provided resource guides on how to avoid additional chemical exposures and also some different foods and different ways that we can support the body with elimination and detoxification. So if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and look into those videos. There'll be a link in the video description as well as in the accompanying blog. Now let's talk a little bit about the caveats that even both sides probably aren't considering. Now, we've already talked about kind of the economic impact of there's a pretty penny to be made by practitioners that do these cleansing and detoxifying challenges. Now, that is true, but the other side of it is that if it is helpful, it's almost impossible for economically disadvantaged people to afford these cleanses and these supplements and all the environmental filters that they need to supposedly or to legitimately help them mitigate their harms. And on the broader scale, an unregulated market allows for cheaper production costs for companies at a lower price point. And these chemicals, they might actually work for beauty, for cleaning, etc. So consumers get more choices. There's a more robust market for chemical companies. So moderating harm at the source, which is actually production, could be a little bit harder. And these socioeconomic connections to health are real. Actually, it's one of the major factors for health is people's socioeconomic class. That's for a variety of reasons, access to care, actually being able to afford care, et cetera, et cetera. We won't go into that now. But the fact is that we know that these compounds and these chemicals are causing harms. We know that there are solutions, but they're unattainable and inaccessible. We could actually be creating more anxiety for people that can't afford these practices. And that is actually harming their health. So what can we do? Well, those who can afford more natural products, it's called supply and demand. You actually buy them because that will lower the prices for everybody. And we can also talk to our representatives that we want more environmentally friendly regulations for the production as well as consumer safe products. In the meantime, for people who maybe can't focus on accessing or buying a lot of things to help them mitigate the harms of the chemicals in their environment, we can focus on things like building connection in communities, teaching the importance of gentle movement, that sweating itself helps rid the body of toxins and it's free, mind-body techniques, decreasing stress helps, community programs to provide enough food to fill nutrient deficiencies. We're not even talking about purity here, but if someone is nutrient deficient, it's hard for their bodies to detoxify. And then focusing on mental health. So all of these baseline things should be the foundation first before people are going into these advanced protocols, which is kind of a luxury today for many people. So that's the first thing is the economical impact. The second thing is the moralization of food and the weight stigma and body shaming that can occur. Okay, so those in the anti-diet world have a point here because when it comes to detoxes and cleanses, a lot of them are marketed for weight control or body manipulation. That is valid. And they believe that these deceptive lifestyle medicine hacks can have a dangerous connotation when improperly applied. What happens is that they can create this food morality and advocate for restricting and eliminating foods deemed unclean, and this can lead to healthism. So what is healthism? Healthism is the belief that health is a moral obligation. You're actually judging somebody's character based on the health choices that they make. So if people don't have wellness behaviors as a priority, say they might put spending time with their family or enjoying a cultural meal with all of the traditional fixings as more of a priority, people would view that as inferior. Okay, so this leads to food and body shame for people who do not subscribe to that health is a moral issue. Now, this is a topic I'm going to expand into a future video, I think, but the bottom line is that it's really nuanced and there's a lot to this, but food morality is dangerous on mental health, okay? And it can fuel eating disorders because when we start to think of someone as unclean when they eat unclean food, that's not a good connection to make, right? So that's the second thing. So we have economics, we have food moralization and healthism, and then the rise of clean eating, orthorexia, and eating disorders in and of themselves. So we talked about the moralization, maybe robbing people of a peaceful relationship with their food and their body. The influences of cleansing and detoxifying can go further into a full-blown diet culture message fueling eating disorders and orthorexia, which is when people become obsessed that if they won't eat anything unless it's completely pure. Now, Chrissy Harrison, who has an MPH, she's an RD, she states that diet culture is a system of beliefs that worship thinness and equate health as a moral virtue. So you can spend your whole life thinking you're irreparably broken because you don't look like the impossibly thin ideal. It promotes weight loss as a mean of attaining higher status, which means you feel compelled to spend a massive amount of time, energy, and money trying to shrink your body, even though research is very clear that almost no one can sustain intentional weight loss for more than a few years. It demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others, which means you're forced to be hypervigilant about your eating, ashamed of making certain food choices, and distracted from your pleasure, your purpose, and your power. And it oppresses people who don't match up with its supposed picture of health, which disproportionately harms women, people of different genders, people in larger bodies, people of color, people with disabilities, and it damages both mental and physical health. According to the National Eating Disorders Association, diet culture is dangerous and harms people of all sizes, including by perpetuating eating disorders and making a full recovery almost impossible. And it's important that we identify this in order to prevent eating disorders and create a culture where full recovery is possible. So this is something I will be expanding on later on, and I do have a lot of resources because eating disorders is something that I do work with in my practice. And this is why I do not subscribe to any forms of diet, but more individualized, personalized ways of nourishing the body for specific health conditions. Where do essential oils come in? Because I'm going to kind of interplay that in because you know I love essential oils. So one of my favorite ways to mitigate the stress that's out there from diet culture and enhance body confidence and body balance by just calming the whole nervous system down is essential oils, of course. And this is important because all that food moralization and diet culture talk can make one's self-esteem and mental health plummet. So I did a previous video on the joyful oil blend, and this uplifts the mood, it lightens the spirit, it benefits the nervous, digestive, endocrine, cardiovascular system, that helps alleviate stress. I use it specifically in my naturopathic medicine clinic to help enhance feelings of self-love, self-care, self-worth, and to promote more human connections. I actually did a whole case study on how I used it in a specific client for anxiety. So if we summarize on detoxifying and cleansing, one of the most important things to remember is medicine is that we want to make sure that we're causing more good than harm. And when we focus on nutritional and lifestyle approaches, we have to be careful of diet culture because it can slip in very easily and take over, even with the best of intentions. So again, if we look at cleansing and detoxifying in a personalized and integrative way that honors all body shapes, and it's really just helping aid specific conditions or just helping prevent certain conditions. And if we look at some of the economic things that are free to help aid body detoxification, they can be very health promoting without the scare. So it is possible to nurture the body with healing foods, provide extra support for excessive toxic insults, and not fall prey to weight preoccupation and harmful diet culture message. Just with intuitive eating, when one is in alignment with their body and wants to feel good, they can make empowering choices with food selections and tune into what best serves their mind, body, and spirit for the moment. That's without body shaming, without morality, and without financial pressure. And essential oils can come in because they're easily accessible for a lot of people and help build up the self-care and self-worth by calming down the moral obligation stress, right, in the nervous system. And we can just kind of try to break free of trying to fit into the thin ideal and perfectionism of health choices. So this was a pretty heavy topic, I know, and I might get some, I've been getting all really nice comments. I might get some pushback here, and I'm okay with that. I'd love to have a discussion. I'd love to know what you think. Most important thing is I want to give you this information because I think we're all accountable for making sure that everybody stays empowered and nobody feels like they have to shrink for any reason. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn how to nourish and nurture your body, mind, and soul.